What's up, Grant?
Hey, Will.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I could not be better, my friend. Appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Sure, no problem.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Well, I tell you what, man, just start out by introducing yourself.
My name is Grant Gedemer. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois. I work for Oxford Hotels and Resorts, and I've been with them about 8 years.
And you're director of food and beverage for the company.
For the company, yeah, corporate food and beverage director. So I oversee most of the food and beverage outlets, particularly in the Midwest area. We do have a couple on the West Coast and the East Coast that I'm not super involved with, just because I don't have a chance to get out there very often, and it would just kind of be too much to have on my plate. Anyway, so primarily focus in the Midwest, but I do kind of system oversee some aspects of all the properties.
How long have you been with Oxford?
It'll be 8 years in March. So I started in February 2014, or sorry, right at the end of February 2014. So March, yeah, almost 8.
How did you get in hospitality in the first place, man? What's your backstory?
Well, I started bar backing when I was in college. Moved up to bartending, and then at a certain point they were looking for a manager, and so it sounded like something that I would want to take on. So I applied and got the job, and I've just kind of been, promoted from there. Worked for a couple different restaurant groups over the course of my time. I've been in the industry about 20 years. But yeah, I started as a bar back and kind of worked up from there. Wasn't really ever something that I originally thought that I would be into. But once I started, learning more about it and taking on different positions, I got really excited about it and passionate about it. And now it's my career.
So from bar back to here in 20 years, you said?
Yeah. My first bar job was in June of 2021. I worked for a company called, at the time they were called Midnight Oil Company, and then they changed their name to Gerber Group, but they were Randy Gerber, who's Cindy Crawford's husband, and his brother Scott did at the time all of the bars in the W hotels. They don't really anymore. They do a couple of them, but at the time they kind of grew along with the W Hotel brand. Their kind of signature bar was called the Whiskey or Whiskey Blue. So they had a few in Chicago, a ton in New York City, and then kind of all over the country as well. So I was with them for about 9 years. I opened 5 or 6 of their properties in Chicago, New York, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and then I kind of moved back to Chicago. And to be honest, the level I was at, there wasn't really anything within the company that was kind of at the level I was at by the time I moved back to Chicago. So that's kind of why I left them. It wasn't because I didn't enjoy working with them, but yeah, they were a great company to learn to learn the industry from. Um, and yeah.
They we serve them. I've heard so many great things about them. What is it that they do so well there?
Gerber Group. So
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of restaurant companies that are there are food and beverage companies that are focused on restaurants. What I think they from the very beginning, and I don't know if this is the case anymore, but it certainly was back then. They definitely viewed themselves as bar operators and lounge operators, and the food was an important piece of it, but not as important as the overall experience and environment. They really, I think, they were one of the first groups that really did the kind of lounge concept well, the cocktail lounge concept well, at least in this kind of era. They kind of came to prominence, I think, in the very late 90s into the early 2010s was kind of the heyday of their original concept. And I think, like I said, they're very organized, and specific about what they want. Like if you get if you get a signature Manhattan at one of their locations and then, find yourself in another one across the country, that drink is going to taste exactly the same. And so they have everything really dialed in, very, very specific expectations, and kind of the way the staff is, the way the drinks taste, the way the atmosphere is. And then, like really large companies like that can get a little watered down or kind of vanilla, but I think they at least when I worked with them, they were always able to stay on the kind of cutting edge with everything from music to uniforms to the drinks. And I enjoyed it. I'm a big guy for like process and like policies, and I like things to be a certain way, and so I really got a lot out of a company that has so much of that figured out, and isn't very loose with anything. So I think that probably is what has made them so successful. That's certainly what I enjoyed about working with them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you brought from there, what you took from them, and how that's helped you with Oxford, or in jobs you've had since. But
Yeah, it has helped a lot. I like I said, that was the first large company that I worked for. So I really kind of learned a lot about how to approach management and how to run a successful business from them. And I have brought a lot of that with me, like a lot of the just kind of the philosophy on how you talk to the staff, deal with the staff, how you create drink menus, food menus, uniforms. When you come up with uniforms, you need specific guidelines for everybody to follow. Leave no stone unturned, basically. Like we even like we even have like rules about like you can't wear like heavy perfume because it detracts from the experience of the guest dining. And I think the more you spell that stuff out for the staff, the less you'll have to worry about in the long run. So, and I did bring a lot of that philosophy with me into Oxford.
yeah, that consistency is so important for
Mhm.
sure.
Absolutely.
So, well, I mean, so you start as a barback, and here you are. What is it about hospitality that really gets you excited?
Well, I mean, everybody, everybody says you get to meet different people and all that stuff, and that's certainly true. But what the main thing I like about hospitality is that no 2 days are ever the same. I don't, I don't know that I see myself doing like a 9 to 5 office job in a cubicle or something like that, because at a certain point, I think it would get really repetitive and probably kind of dry in that way. And in hospitality, things are always changing. I mean, obviously the last year and a half has been a lot of nonstop change, but even under normal circumstances, like no two nights are the same, no two places are the same. Once I got the opportunity to kind of help develop and open new properties, that's exciting too, because no two restaurants are the same, no two bars are the same, no two staffs are the same. You deal with a lot of different personalities, and a lot of different challenges, and the successes feel really, really great. And it's I think that's the most important thing that keeps me in hospitality and draws me to it, is the variety and kind of the change of scenery all the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because you mentioned how you like things sort of, buttoned up and,
Yeah,
orderly and so forth.
you're right.
So there's that part, and then there's a part where you never know what's going to happen
Yeah,
next.
that's
But that's
actually a really
probably
good
why it's
point.
good. Yeah, it's probably why it's good to have things so organized, though, because then you don't have to worry about, when things are consistent and clear and specific, and you're not having to deal with somebody with too much perfume or the drinks, being made differently. Then you lay the foundation that's enables you to be ready to tackle the stuff that you can't control, which happens all the time in hospitality, particularly the
Absolutely.
last year and a half. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting dichotomy. That's now that you say that, it is kind of, yeah, unique. Yeah, I like I like consistency, and I also like change at the same time. So I don't know how many industries really are able to let you kind of experience both. Each one is like kind of one or the other, I think. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, y'all certainly in your industry, you have your share of just, let's say, pre-COVID. It's already just fluctuating daily, metaphorical, if you will, fires to put out and things
Mm.
happening and changes and new places opening and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of things to deal with. You have to master a lot of skills to do what you do. And I've always been, a big admirer of folks like you that are able to do that and do it so well. And then COVID hits, and then you just get, the whole world just kind of gets turned upside down.
Mhm.
Um, we're hopefully on the tail end of this. I think we're getting close.
I think we are. Yeah, finally.
What's like? What have y'all changed? I mean, is it made? I've talked to a lot of folks that say, "Look, it sucked," but then like it's forced us to focus on these things and get better here or better there. Have you experienced that too?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot changed immediately. I mean, they closed down restaurants and bars, and then we kind of, because a lot of our places are in a hotel, we tried switching to kind of like a grab and go type of thing. That didn't really work. The revenue wasn't really there to sustain us, so we had to temporarily close a number of the locations and then reopen them. And then when we did reopen, we switched to like QR code menus or single use paper menus, or we were using like plastic silverware for a little bit, really, really enhanced sanitation in between visits, which and some of that we still do. So if you're asking what kind of changed permanently due to COVID, is that kind of the question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, some of it went back. Like we don't use paper menus anymore, but we do still use QR codes on the tables. Our enhanced sanitation protocols are still there, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. I mean, some more cynical people refer to it as like sanitation theater. Like people want to see you taking all these steps to sanitize in between visits and everything, even though it's not really quote unquote necessary. But yeah, I mean, you can never go wrong by keeping things cleaner than you think you need to. So that's still there. The QR codes are still there. We kind of changed our menus a little bit to be less share focused, like share plates focused, and more like individual kind of entrees or options like that. Some of that is kind of going back to the way it used to be, and we're kind of just kind of paying attention to the kind of culture that's going on. Are people going more for like share plates and like tapas style, which works really, really well in places that are heavily focused on booze, like a lot of our lounges are. The small plates kind of shareable format works better than individual entrees for that. So we've kind of brought a little bit of that back. I don't think we're ever going to go entirely back to the way it used to be with just a menu of like small plates, because there are a lot of people still coming out for more for meals. Like when we've been busy has changed too a bunch of times over the last year and a half. Like we were really busy. We were really busy for brunch and lunch and early dinner through a long stretch of it, and not so much late night. Part of that had to do with the city also had a curfew due to the kind of the demonstrations and some of the violence that was happening last summer. So we went through modified hours. So like I think it did kind of not permanently, but there was a sustained impact on, I think, when people are going out now. People are starting to go out more and more regularly, certainly in the last couple of months than they did. This last summer for us was not normal, but it was certainly, a world different than 2020, the summer of 2020. But I think people are still used to going out earlier and going home earlier. And I think that the late night aspect of everything is going to take a little while to come back. And I think maybe it's because a lot of people are working from home now. They've kind of, their habits have changed. They go to bed earlier. They wake up earlier. So what we've seen is a lot more activity in like the brunch kind of time area through early dinner. And some of our nightlife venues are still busy, but they're not busy. They're not busy till 2, 3 in the morning the way they used to be. So I think that's going to take a while to come back, to be honest with you. I think, anytime, not that there's ever been a time like this before, but we're basically looking at a 2-year kind of pause on everything. And in those 2 years, 38-year-olds turn 40. The people have kids, they move to the suburbs, and it's going to take another couple of years before that group of 20 somethings into the mid 20s, like just starting out working professionals, get back into like going out mode and everything for things to really kind of resemble the way they did before the pandemic. So those are some of the changes that are definitely intentional on our part, and then also lingering just due to what's going on around us.
What about your staff? Have you had people that you worked with for a while that decided that this was a time to, throw in the towel on hospitality and go do something else?
Yeah. So I mean, we had to furlough everybody when COVID happened, and then when we were in a position to be able to reopen, we thought that we would, okay, we're not sure how busy we're going to be, so we're going to be able to recall, let's call it these 25 people. So we called those 25 people, and a lot of them said they would come back, but a lot of them, a surprising number didn't. And this is back in, like mid-May 2020. We thought everybody would just be chomping at the bit to come back to work. But a lot of them weren't. And a lot of them, a lot of the staff, or all the staff that did come back, has been with us since we opened. So they're approaching like their 8-year anniversary too. So they came back, no questions asked. But some of the newer servers, or people who had only been with us for 2 or 3 years, they said they were hesitant to come back first, just because of, like safety concerns, which are, perfectly valid. And then from there, it turned into, I just kind of decided I want to leave the industry altogether and do something else. So it was a pretty even mix, I would say. But we were fortunate that a lot of our veteran staff members were willing to come back. And, because without them, we wouldn't obviously have been able to do really anything. And we're still struggling to staff pretty much every aspect of our businesses, from management down to back waiters and bussers and kitchen staff as well. So it was surprising in May 2020, but now we've been dealing with the labor shortage for a year and a half on its own. So, but at first it was very, very surprising to us, because we thought everybody was going to, do a backflip. Oh, great, we get to come back to work, but it obviously did not turn out that way.
Yeah, it's wild. So you all, yeah, I mean, I hear this all over the place. You're having that issue too.
Oh, I'm
Have
sure.
you
Yeah.
had to adjust your hours or anything because of that? I mean, I know a lot of places that just can't open. Like I spoke to a customer recently who had 7 days a week lunch and dinner,
Mhm.
going into COVID, and now they're at 4 days a week lunch and dinner.
Yeah. So we've had to cut just one day. We're not open on Mondays right now, and that's purely because we We're short one full-time manager who kind of the position does a lot of floor coverage as well as kind of ordering dry goods and some administrative tasks, but it's primarily a service manager or front of house manager position. And we can't find somebody that has the right level of experience. We've posted ads literally everywhere you can, and we'll get the same like 10 people apply that aren't serious. Like they'll either not respond to you when you reach out, or they'll set up an interview and then just not show up. We even had one person that not only interviewed but accepted the position, filled out their online paperwork, and just did not show up for the first day of work. It's so crazy. It's really crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, I mean, and it's so weird. Like I don't know if it's just they think they're ready to get back to work and then they get cold feet about it. But we've had people that like, like the day before the interview, they say, oh, I'm sorry, like, there was a flood in my apartment, I got to deal with that. Anyway, we can move it like one more day. And we're like, yeah, okay. And then they just don't show up for that interview or respond. So it's like they make up a weird excuse why they're not able to come in to buy themselves one day, and then they just no show on us. So it's, I don't know. And everybody I talk to, like they're kind of the same mind as we are. Like they don't understand it. Like why, this isn't going to last forever. Why aren't people like trying to get back to work? So I don't know who these people are, because everybody I actually interact with, like, and not just in this industry, like I have friends out in multiple industries and it's the same for them, but we're all in agreement. Like why aren't people coming back to work? So I don't know, but this majority of people that have just vanished from not just hospitality, from every industry. They're just, sometimes it feels like 3/4 of the American workforce has just vanished from the face of the earth. Like I don't know where they are.
Yeah. Maybe they're driving Uber or something. I don't know.
They could be, or maybe they're working for Amazon or something like
Amazon.
that. I don't know, but yeah, it's every industry. So
It's a odd dynamic. So, wow. Well, so what's like on the radar for y'all for the next year? Are you just, I mean, it must be hard to plan and project when you just
it's,
never know when
yeah,
you're gonna
it very
predict
much is. We're going through kind of our budgeting process for 2022 right now, and we're kind of trying to look at a couple of different models for doing that. Like, hey, do we forecast Q1 to be kind of like what we just had in like 2020, and then maybe the rest of the year kind of closer to 2019 numbers, and that's kind of where we're starting. And then we're kind of just adjusting it down a little bit, because I mean, we're all, you don't know, but you would hope, at least the way things are going, that by the second quarter of 2022, like things would be roughly resembling the way they were before from a revenue standpoint. But yeah, you don't know what you don't know. Like it's impossible to forecast with any like strong degree of precision, because you just, like even now things change all the time. So we hope, we hope that, well, we were hoping that by midpoint 2021 everything would be back to normal, and it wasn't. So even though things seem that much closer to normal now, and obviously the vaccines are widespread and kids are getting able to get vaccinated now, which is fantastic. You hope once again that, okay, maybe by the midpoint of 2022 things will be really back to normal. But what if the labor shortage is still there, and what if that the supply chain issues that causes still exist? Then we wouldn't be back to normal. Like the demand would probably be there, but we wouldn't be able to handle it. But that's where we're starting. We're starting from a standpoint of the first quarter of 2022 will still probably be light compared to what it has been, and then the rest of the balance of the year we're kind of projecting close to pre-pandemic numbers.
Are you seeing one thing you didn't mention outside of the labor shortage and supply chain is inflation? Are you seeing like our food costs skyrocketing right now, or?
Yeah, yeah, and it's it's various things. It's not everything across the board, but like meat is high, poultry is high, produce is high. So we've had to make menu price adjustments for that. Alcohol is also high, due to the shortage there. And things are out of stock, on a rolling basis, like one week we won't be able to get any tequilas because the bottles that they it's not that they don't have tequila, it's the bottles they use they don't have. So it's everything is up across the board. So we've had to adjust.
When you are in a situation where you actually have people that want to work and are hoping to get the job, and you're interviewing them and you're talking to them, and if they ask you, what is it that what should they, especially if they haven't had a lot of experience in hospitality, what do you tell people? Like, what's it like being in hospitality?
Ah. Well, be prepared to run. You got to. It's a very stressful. It's a very stressful job, but it's very rewarding. I think that workplaces in this industry tend to be pretty tight knit. It function a lot like a family. So if you're looking for not just coworkers, but really close friends that you'll have for like probably the rest of your life if you want, it's a good industry for that. There's a sense of like cooperation and willingness to help people out that I'm biased. I haven't worked in a ton of other industries than this one, but I do think that like in general people tend to look out for each other and work together well, and it's a fun place to work, or it's a fun industry to work in. It's a fun and funny place to work. Like people who work in this industry tend to have pretty good senses of humor as well. So if you're looking to have fun while working, it's a great place for that. But it's stressful, and it can be tough, and there will be days where there's not enough people on the floor or at work, and it's longer hours. It's definitely not an easy 8-hour job, and but the rewards are numerous too. So like I said, it's a great way to make, it's definitely a great way to make money for sure. But it's a great way to meet people and make friends and have fun at work and learn a lot about life too. So
Do our customers, have they adjusted their expectations? Like, are people more patient now? Are they accounting for the fact that, I mean, most people know that, there's a labor shortage and it's tough for restaurants right now, but then people go and they sit and they want their server to come now, and they want their food when they want their food. Like, how are you seeing people reacting?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I will say on the whole people are much more adjusted to it now than kind of when things first started to reopen. Generally, there are still there are still some jerks out there that are demanding and unrealistic with their expectations, but for the most part things have gotten better in that regard. Even something as simple as kind of like mask wearing, like when we first reopened, it was impossible to get people to put their masks on, and then eventually cumulatively people just kind of accepted that it's something that they have to do and adjusted to. But it's definitely better. It's better. But there are still demanding people for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, man, thank you, Grant. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for your business. Hoping to I have, my wife and I have 3 kids. We actually hope to be heading your way sometime. We were going to try to come over New Year's, and it's not going to happen. But if I do, I'm going to get in touch with you, man.
Yeah, please do.
We'll come stay in one of your hotels.
Pardon?
I said, maybe we'll come stay in one of your places.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Well, thank you, man. I really
Awesome.
appreciate it very much. And you always know where we are if you need anything, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. See you.
Take care.